Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new video. We're starting off this morning pretty early. It's about 7 in the morning right now. I'm just heading off to work because I'm covering a shift for one of my classmates. So I'm going to head off there right now. But pretty much this week, we're looking at being in the lab quite a bit. It's our second half of finals week, so I'm actually going to have my neuromuscular conditions final on Monday. So this early part of the weekend is really going to be preparing my flashcards, making sure that I have everything put together so that I can really study tonight as well as tomorrow, just to make sure that I'm feeling fully ready for it. But then that will be the last bit of our didactic finals for now. Then we'll just have a little bit of, I believe we're doing an inpatient immersive experience where some of our professors are going to be putting tubes all over and really kind of testing our knowledge of acute care. So that way we can have at least a little bit of experience with it in a mock sense before we head off to clinic. So it should be an exciting week. I'm going to go to work and kind of make my to-do list for this week. Again, it's going to not be quite as assignment heavy and will be much more review heavy in terms of I'll probably start putting together some review sheets and just kind of some decision matrices to help me make decisions while I'm going through some of the experiences like CAPE that will be later in the week. So I'll talk to you guys later. Well, we made it through a very intense weekend full of studying, but we are done with our final written examination for this part of the semester. I still have another set of classes that I will have for 3 weeks that I'll talk about down the road, but at least for now, this portion of the semester is essentially done. We just have our CAPE examinations that will be coming up next week. Mine is scheduled for Tuesday, but more on that to come near the end of the week. Right now, I finished my exam. I don't know exactly how I did because the scores are muted, but I felt pretty good about it overall, so I think that I passed and we can move on from there. I have a short break for lunch right now. I'm just doing some things at the apartment. Then I'm going to head with some friends over for a kind of lunch event that's happening on campus. And then we're going to do our first section of lab preparation for CAPE, where we are just pretty much going through from start to end some cases for each of our specific track courses of the neuromuscular, the musculoskeletal, and medical conditions, where we're just going to have a ton of labs this week that are focusing on patients and just going through a case with those to get lots of practice, since that's essentially what we're going to be doing within CAPE. So I'm just going to get some things done. I'll let you guys know any other updates along the way, and I'll talk to you guys later. Well, that's today pretty much coming to an end. overall today we went into lab this morning for our medical conditions CAPE practice, where we just kind of went through scenarios similar to what we did yesterday in lab for our neuromuscular conditions, where yesterday I had a patient who had cerebral palsy, and I just walked it from start to finish, taking the history, doing some exam items, and moving on to intervention. Overall, I felt really great in terms of my timing, in terms of my delivery, and everything like that. It seems like I'm in a good comfort zone right now, so it's just kind of getting down to those nitty-gritty details of making sure that I'm using the right examination items, using the right intervention items, just to be specific to each patient. That's the same thing for today, where we went through some of those things, but for patients who more have our COPD, cystic fibrosis, and things like that, where you just have to consider these people are probably not going to be able to do a lot of exercise just because they have some limitations either from their cardiovascular or pulmonary system. So we're going to end up doing the same thing tomorrow, but for our musculoskeletal conditions, and just keep moving forward with that. That will be the last track course that we are kind of practicing for CAPE overall. And then near the end of the week, we're doing our integrated inpatient experience. But other than that, today we also had our CAPE orientation, where we got to go into the lab spaces that we're going to be testing in, just kind of see the equipment, the tables, make sure we know how they function, and just kind of the relative space that we'll have to move our patients around and do activity. So it was a really great introduction to what we're going to be looking forward to next week when we do that examination. So I'm going to get some rest now. I've been able to work on a little bit of review sheets, both during work yesterday as well as just a moment ago while I was at bachelor night. So now I'm just going to finish a little bit of that before I head to bed, and then we're going to get up early tomorrow just to go for our musculoskeletal conditions. So I'll talk to you guys later. All done with class for today. Today was really focused on our musculoskeletal conditions and really going over some cases with that. And honestly, they threw us a bit of a curveball with some of our cases. The other ones in our neuromuscular conditions and medical conditions classes, they were pretty up the alley of what we were expecting, but in our musculoskeletal conditions, they really gave us some cases where, for example, a patient presents with some morning pain in their heel and side of their foot. You do an initial evaluation and things like that, and what you expect right away with that morning pain, the location of it being on the bottom of your foot, is that it might be plantar fasciitis. So you instantly go to that, but it actually ended up being a tibialis posterior, which is a muscle which has an attachment on that medial side of your ankle. There was some swelling there, and it was actually being caused by that and not by the plantar fasciitis, which you would expect. So they just gave us a few of those things that really made us think and be thorough in our examinations. But it was good learning overall. Then in the afternoon, we did a bit of return to sport testing. So things like some jump testing. There was the STAR excursion exam, which is kind of like a balance and sometimes proprioceptive exam that you saw was the colorful circle that you saw that has different angles, and essentially what you have them do is they stand on one foot in the middle and you have them try and tap out as far as they can in every single direction, and it just gives you an idea of symmetry, being able to maintain that balance on that single leg. So just kind of some of those things that are really important when you are returning to sport, especially in things like hockey where you're moving your legs in different directions and things like that. STAR excursion would be a really good exam to prepare them to return back to sport. But we also did a little bit on taping, just being able to adjust a little bit of your foot placement as you're walking to kind of help bias or unbias some of the things that your muscles are making you lean towards, whether it's due to tightness or just how your muscles and bones and things like that formed. So it was really interesting and informative overall. Another tool that we can have in our tool belt. So it was great, but now tonight I have to read through and prepare for our integrated inpatient experience. So I'm going to make sure to read all of those cases and prepare for it tomorrow. But I also do have to spend some time tonight cleaning the apartment a little bit because we're actually going to be having another bunny over. We're rabbit sitting for the next couple weeks. So I have to make sure that we have appropriate space for that. So I'm going to get to that and I'll talk to you guys later. Well, that is our integrated inpatient experience all done and out of the way. Overall, I think that it went really well. I was put on a musculoskeletal conditions case where it was just a post-operative hip operation. So just keeping some restrictions in mind and working with my partner, we were able to move through kind of doing our history, doing a quick evaluation to make sure that we were good for functioning on that day, and then just trying to see if we could get that patient up and moving. And overall, like I said, I think it went really well. We had a couple of other cases, one for each of the tracks. So we did have another one that was for a patient with COPD where they have a little bit of trouble getting air out of their lungs. So you might see some hyperinflation of the lungs where they almost look a little barrel-chested and things like that. So it was just interesting to try overall. We also had a patient with stroke and being able to navigate some of the intricacies such as having to go to the bathroom in the middle of the session and dealing with some of those other things that might pop up in reality when we're out in clinic. So overall, it was a really great experience. I'm glad we were able to kind of get that simulated experience, especially before I end up going into the hospital coming up in just a few weeks. So I'm very excited for that, but I think tonight I'm just going to do a little bit of relaxation. I think we have plans to go out and get some dinner at Panda Express, so I'm very excited for that. And then I am going to try and start putting together a few more of my note sheets just to prepare myself as I am getting some more practice, because tomorrow we have our last day of class, which is just an optional lab in the morning that's kind of self-directed where we can do whatever we want. So I think I'm just going to try and think through my processes for that and get any feedback from professors there. So I'm just going to get to that and I'll see you guys soon. Well, I'm heading off to work to end off my second week of finals. We managed to make it through and do lots of preparations for our CAPE examination that's coming up next week. It isn't until Tuesday next week, and that's really the only thing that I have. So you guys might not see some day in the life content next week, but probably something different. I guess you'll have to see once it comes out, but I'm sure that I will have something prepared for you. Overall, it was a great week. We made it through and we're done on the stressful portion of the semester outside of CAPE. If you guys want to see any of the information regarding CAPE and the examination, please let me know down in the comments down below. That's all that I really have for this week. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching. This has been KB DPT, and I'll see you all in the next video.